Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I am your host, Brett Gilliland. I've got my man, Colby Jubenville, Dr. Colby Jubenville. What's going on, Dr. J?
You know, I'm having deja vu here. I mean, this is a flashback moment for me. I can remember back when we first did this many years ago, and I think you were probably on episode, 20, 30, and now you're
somewhere in there.
395. Everything's wonderful, man. I mean, it's 2024, and the world has evolved so much. We now live in an economy that we didn't even know could exist. And 5 years from now, we're preparing people for an economy that doesn't even exist yet. So we better figure out how to develop their talent, uncover and develop their talent, which is what I hope we get to speak about today a little bit with you in this thing called the Circuit of Success.
Absolutely. Well, man, it's good to have you. So I want to go like I do every show, probably like I did, 300 and something episodes ago with you. And we've become friends, which I think is what's cool about this, man. With podcasts, you were kind enough. I needed a place to stay for 2 or 3 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
A late night text, hey, dude, I'm looking for a place in Panama City because my place on 30A doesn't open until 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, man.
And you said, stay at my place. So my wife, my 4 kids, we roll into your place and get a beautiful view of the water. Man, it was awesome. So I just think that's cool, man, to think about what this podcast and how we become friends. You've come here and spoken to Visionary Wealth Advisors, to our people before. We rode go-karts. I got sick. I mean, we've been through it all, man.
I've been on every floor of the building. I've been to the restaurant on the bottom floor. I've been to the law firm on the 6th floor. I haven't been to the bar/cigar deal on what floor. I don't know what that is, but I just want you to know this, man. If you ever if 30A ain't open, dude, PCB is good for all time zones. So come on down.
Well, I think you know this. I met my wife there at Harpoon Harry's in spring break 1998. We're out on the dance floor. I'm like, man, she looks pretty. I'll go talk to her. And, oh, my gosh, she goes to Eastern Illinois University where I went. Now we've got 4 kids, and here we are. But, Colby, why don't you give a little lay of the land, man, of what's made you the man you are today. You don't just wake up as a TEDx speaker, an author, a professor, have your doctorate. You're a trusted advisor to lots of companies out there. But kind of give us the backstory, man.
Well, it's so simple, man. It's Karen and Wayne Williams. I went through what I call the Wayne Williams School for Better Living and Better People, and he was my stepdad. Took my life over at one, and the need for achievement is something that's taught. You're not born with it, and ultimately, those people every day woke up and they knew how to build and pull the best out of other people. And so today, if you fast forward to today, they're coaches. What do great coaches do? Great coaches make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do things you don't want to do to become something you didn't think you could become. And if I look back on my life, it started with Karen and Wayne Williams and them coaching me. And then the great coaches I had along the way at St. Paul's and Millsaps and Norman Joseph at Bellhaven and all those coaches that made investments in me. Pat Taylor, my high school principal, just recently passed away, and I told myself before he did, I was going to be able to go. I had to go back and see him one last time. And he's on his deathbed, and he called me Colby. And so I walk in there, and he's about 70 pounds, and he's on his deathbed, and he said, "Colby, I'm so proud of you." And I started to tear up a little bit. He said, "But you know what I'm proud of the most?" And I said, "No, sir." He goes, "Well, you just didn't do it the way that other people did it. You did it your own way." And he said, "I have something for you." And I leaned down and I grabbed his hand and I said, well, who do you think that I learned that from? Who do you think that I learned to do it your own way from? He said, I know, but I've got something for you. And so he points me over to the chair, and he's got this book, and it's Matthew McConaughey, and it's Just Because. And the book is about kids being told how to do something one way and deciding to do it their own way, because you don't have to do it just because they say do it that way. And I started to laugh and tear up, and I said, "Pat, you know what's funny to me?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "You're on your deathbed and you're still coaching me." And he said, son, you're going to always need coaching from me. And I
That's
hugged
pretty
him.
awesome, man.
And if you look back, there's always these defining moments, and there's one or two, three people that made investments in you, that took a chance on you when nobody else would. And Pat Taylor and Bob Rutledge and Charlie Miller and Jerry Strang and Sandy Santoli and Tommy Raniger and my mom and dad are all of those people that made those investments in me.
Yeah. When you think about those, you mentioned those defining moments. I mean, I've got some clear defining moments in my life. Just looking at my professional life, right? Obviously, you have a defining moment when you walk up to somebody at Harpoon Harry's, and that's a defining moment, right? But when you think about those moments in your life, what's the one thing, if you can share, that you're like, man, that was the game changer for me?
I think walking out on the field at Millsaps in Jackson, and there's 80 dudes out there, and it's for the first time in my career, I wasn't in a long time. I wasn't the best guy on the team. In fact, the right tackle was Sean Brewer, and Sean is the Division III Player of the Year trophy. Is now called the Sean Brewer Award. So of all the schools, Brett, that I could go to in the United States to play college football, I somehow play the same position with a dude that 25 years later
They
gets
named the damn trophy.
That's right. And so the other dude that plays the other tackle is a guy named Flint Minshew. His son, Gardner, is the starting quarterback for the LA Raiders. And he's like 6'3", 6'4", 260 and a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
And so you walk out there and you say to yourself, there's no way I can do this. You say to yourself, how am I going to make it through the next day? And I called my mom in tears. I went on the field. I came back in the classroom. I got assigned 300 pages of reading. And I called my mom in tears because that's the only person that you can call. And I said, Mom, I can't do this. I got to come home. I'm in the wrong place. And my mom said, son, you're right where you need to be. And the one thing that I learned in that defining moment, that now my son, who plays Division I basketball here at MTSU, the one thing that I learned, and I tell people why it's so important to let your kids figure it out and let the game be the teacher, is that I learned this simple idea of how to use adversity to accelerate growth. And once you learn how to use adversity to accelerate growth, it becomes your greatest competitive advantage. And so that same guy, Flint Minshew, we're up on playing Sewanee up on the mountain, and we lose. And Coach Raniger, Tommy Raniger, played at Mississippi State when they didn't wear helmets, probably was about 350, 400 pounds. He called me Corey, but my name is Colby. He called me Corey, and he got the whole team together. It always pointed like this. He said, boys, do you know why we lost the game today? He said, because Corey don't know how to play football, don't know how to play defensive tackle. So if you see him, tell him Corey lost the game for us. Well, I mean, I'm literally 6 feet from it. And I'm getting on the bus, and Flint Gardner's dad, we tell this story all the time, but Flint, I'm getting on the bus, and Flint would stand at the front of the bus and shake people's hands as they got on. Big old dude, just a tree. And he said, Colby, Coach Raniger only picks on people he likes. And hell, son, he must love you. And I got on that bus and laid in dip, spit, and sardine cans. And Brett, I said to myself, if this is the worst they can do, I'm going to make it. And one of the things that we learn from those experiences is that they shape our lives.
Yep.
And that's what that defining moment did for me. But to me, that's where I made the gut level decision. I said, this is it. I am going to coach and teach on an ever increasing stage.
Love it. It's funny you talk about that. You said, I think the word was you learn to use adversity to influence growth. And somebody asked me today, accelerate growth, not influence. I'm going to write that down. Accelerate growth. And it's so true, right? Because I just said this today to somebody. They asked me about my career, and I said 2003 was my worst year ever financially, after a really good year in 2002. But the biggest learning I had that changed the trajectory of my life was the worst year of my life in my career, my professional career, right? So I did use that adversity to accelerate growth. So how do we do
Yeah.
that though? Because it doesn't always happen that way. Because a lot of people, you have adversity, you can get in the fetal position, you can be mad, you can just take it to a whole nother level. How do you help the person listen right now that's going through some adversity, that needs
Yeah.
that little help, that hand to pick them up and help them up and help them accelerate the growth?
Yeah, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? And once we start to look at adversity as a way to teach us something, then the next question is, we say to ourselves, what do we contribute to this? Because what we all realize in adversity is that we contribute something to it and we can learn something from it. If you look behind my left shoulder, I think I'm have a hard time telling you my right from my left.
Right.
I'm challenged with that still today. There you go. I have to do this to remember.
Yeah.
But Jack Jubenville is over one of my shoulders behind me. I'm in the Jack Jubenville conference room on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University. And you asked me specifically about how do you teach other people to recognize when that adversity happens and shift that mindset from a fixed to a growth mindset. So my favorite story about Jack is he's playing his high school game, probably his second to last game of the year. And just like I would do with Wayne, and Wayne Williams, my stepdad, who was my dad, would always tell me, let the game be the teacher. Let the game be the teacher. And so I would ask him after every game, playing football at St. Paul's in Mobile, the womb of greatness, I would say, what do you think? How did I do? And he'd always answer me the same way. Well, how do you think you did? And that's as far as it would ever go, because he said, Colby, you got to let the game be the teacher. So Jack, and dude, in 20 years under this man's roof, I never saw him have a bad day. 20 years, I never saw him lose his cool. Now, do you think Jack can say that about me? No.
No, my kids can't either. About me, not about you.
Well, and Wayne's dad was a tank commander for Patton, so we'll put that right there for today and let the audience sit in on that one. But Jack asked me and asked me and asked me and asked me and asked me, and finally one day he caught me on the wrong day, and he said after a game, he said, "How do you think I did?" And I turned to him, and he caught me on the wrong day, and I said, "Do you really want me to tell you?" He said, I keep asking you. I've been asking you for years. And I said, you know what blows my mind, dude? You know what blows my mind? I said, you let people and your teammates let other teams take uncontested layups. If it were me and I was in a basketball game and some dude was going to lay the ball up, I would put him in the stands. So if you really want to know what I think, the game is built so that you can learn. And what the game is really built for you to learn is that imposing your will on someone else is one of the greatest opportunities in sports for you to come alive in ways that you cannot anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so he goes, Dad, I'm just telling you, man, people don't play basketball like that anymore. I said, stop right there. You asked me, I answered it. We can move forward.
That's right.
So you know what happens the very next game. It's 2 days later, the very next game. There's a breakaway. Jack looks at me. I can see him looking at me. The crowd's going crazy. I show no emotion in these games. I learned a long time ago from an old baseball coach, you can be one of three things. You can be a dad, you be a coach, but you can't be all three.
That's right.
And so he takes the breakaway. The guy's going down to shoot it, and Jack takes him to lay it in, and Jack takes him and puts him in the cheap seats. The crowd goes crazy. I mean, literally goes crazy. The official goes up and tees him up. I lose it. For the first time ever, and I teach emotional intelligence to other people. For the first time ever, I find myself, I can't stop. I'm walking down the stands. I walk up to the guy, the official, and I said, all you did today was make America weak. and he turned around and he tees me up and he kicks me out of the game. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm walking out, and so I wait till the end of the game, and I go back in, and Jack comes out with his hoodie on and his head down, and I said, "Well, man, what did you think? How did it go?" And he said, "I tried to tell you, Dad. People don't play basketball like that anymore." Now, here's the takeaway for the audience. Fast forward a year later, and he's playing at MTSU, and he's thinking about quitting. And I told him, if you start, you will finish this. So don't start it if you don't want to go all 4 years and finish it. And so he comes to me, and I said, "What is it like out there? What is it like to play at that level?" And he said, "You know that time you told me to hit that guy if he took the layup, that I'd really feel what it felt like to come alive, that imposing my will on somebody?" He said, "That's every play of my life." And I said, "Jack, welcome to the rest of your life. There's 4 rules. Here's rule number 1. If you want to get better, get around better people. Get around people better than you. Rule number 2, become better than them. Rule number 3, make the pie bigger through collaboration. And then number 4, make the pie so big that you build a bakery."
Powerful. Build the damn bakery.
Build the bakery, man. And so what I've spent the rest since I probably interviewed with you, what I've spent my life doing is getting around people better than me, understanding the patterns and stacking the patterns, which is one of the pieces of the talent development framework that I teach, and getting better than them, building collaborative relationships where the pie gets bigger for everybody, and then making the bakery and sending out the pies.
Love it. So what's that look like for the person driving down the road? How do we get there, man? Like, what's those habits day in and day out that we got to do?
Well, that are habits, and you know that as well as I do. And the first habit for me starts at 4:45 every morning, 4:30, 4:45, drinking apple cider vinegar. That's the very first habit of my day. Then the second habit is getting to F45 on Thompson Lane and working out. And I will tell you, it's somewhere in my 30s and my 40s, when you experience a lot of adversity in life, it is easy for those habits to fall to the wayside. It is easy to feel sorry for yourself. And those emotions work up to a point. And then you've got to decide again to make a gut level decision to go. I think every person that's driving that car right now needs to understand this, that in the knowledge economy, it's about knowing and understanding your value, putting yourself in a position to use it, but more importantly, we are going to reinvent ourselves in almost every stage of our career. It's reinvention. And so what it looks like is to win at the basics, to get clear at the basics, to understand that every industry has market-specific knowledge, and you've got to decide what market-specific knowledge you want to master. And before you can master 2 things, you have to master 1 thing. That's Harder's competence motivation theory. Master it, build the patterns, stack the patterns, develop the emotional intelligence. What's the story you tell yourself every day? What does your personal brand look like? And then ultimately that leads to a growth mindset and developing personal relationships. And so I want to finish that thought, and I'll just threw a lot at you, but all those pieces make up this thing called the talent development framework that I've created. And I think our first responsibility, and I sent you a picture, our first responsibility, I believe in education, I believe in any type of education. Our first responsibility is to develop their talent. And I've built a step-by-step process, and that leads all the way up to personal relationships. And we hear this all the time. It comes from Jerry Maguire. The four greatest lines, the 4 words from Jerry Maguire are what?
Show me the money.
Yeah. And then the next set of 4 words are help me help you. Right? But the most important line in the movie is the things we think and do not say the future of our business. The things we think and do not say the future of our business. And he talks about the late, great Dickie Fox in that moment where the Who is playing in the background. I'm in tune. That's the song that's playing in the background. And he says, Dickie Fox says, the key to this business is personal relationships. So I wrote that up on my wall, on my whiteboard. And I wrote this question: when do relationships become personal? And they become personal when they become meaningful. When does a relationship become meaningful? It's our relationship. It's two or more people working together through interdependence towards a common goal. Show me a society that does that, and I'll show you better marriages. Show me a society that believes in that, I'll show you people that show up for work and they're engaged. It forces you, if you take that frame, two or more people working together through interdependence. Brett, we don't teach interdependence. What do we teach above anything else? We teach what?
Independence.
That's damn right, Dave. See, I didn't.
It's funny you say that. Sorry to interrupt, but like we talk about that even here in our firm, because what we have found is the independent person isn't as highly connected as the interdependent person, right? We need to be in. They need us. We need them. We can't do what we do.
The most basic need of people is to connect and feel connected. We are the most overweight, indexed, medicated, addicted cohort in the history of mankind because we fall out of connection. Connection is why we're here. It's hardwired into our DNA. This is all what Brene Brown says in The Power of Vulnerability. Once you watch that video, it'll change the way you look at how you build relationships. So the person driving down their car and they want their way out, the very first thing they need to say to themselves is, I need to do a better job building meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Meaningful relationships are two or more people working together through interdependence towards a common goal. Show me a society that does that. I'll show you better men that have relationships with other men, better men that have relationships with women, better relationships with children. What is the common goal? I told Jack the common goal for me and him from day one is to use adversity to accelerate growth, man. I'm going to teach you a skill set that is going to be your greatest competitive advantage. You're going to see things that no other child will see from their dad. But I promise you, when we get to the end and I hand it off to you and I say, now it's your turn to run, go, you're going to be able to do it in a way that not many people can. Yeah. And I don't say that out of arrogance. I don't say that out of pride. I say that out of obligation. I say that out of responsibility. That is what Karen and Wayne taught me. Independence above everything else. Self-reliance even more than independence. Don't call me to solve your problems. I've called my mom so many times, I'm in a really bad spot. My mom would say this, Colby, you got yourself there, you'll get yourself out, and hung up the phone. Jack calls me, I don't have the courage, brother. Jack calls me, I come running.
Exactly. I don't disagree, but I think it's true, man. My kids will ask me questions, and it's always like, well, what do you think? Like, I'm not always going to be here, man. My oldest is leaving for college in 20 days. I don't like it. Yeah. But it's like, like they ask these questions, man, and yeah, you want to help them. We want to be there for them, but it's, what do you think? Right? You can even ask a client that. What do you think? I know the answer, but what do you think, man? Figure it out.
Yeah.
So when you look at, again, those habits, right? You talked about you're going to the gym. You talk about drinking cider. I mean, how important is it? And we know the answer to this. This is an easy question, but the boring consistency of doing it. How important is that?
I mean, it's the only way forward. It's amazing. When I stay in my routine, really cool things start to happen. When I don't.
In all aspects of your life.
In all aspects of my life. Well, I don't believe in work-life balance, dude. I believe in work-life integration. Yeah. All parts of your life feed all parts of your life. If this is the forum on work-life balance, I'm not the guy. Don't even know number one.
It doesn't exist.
Work-life balance doesn't exist. Human beings are not built to be balanced.
Right.
I mean, I'm glad you do yoga. I hope it works. Maybe it gets you close. But that is.
No, I did yoga on your balcony, because I had an ocean view, and I got to become more flexible in my dang golf swing. That's what my goal. My goal is, Colby. I want to play golf on my 100th birthday and break 100.
Oh,
so
man.
My stretching and yoga is important for that.
Buddy, I hope you do it. I hope
I hope so too.
I'm older than you, so I won't be there, but you'll do it.
That's the plan. What have you learned? You're around a lot of great people, right? You're around a lot of successful people. What have you learned? You don't have to share names, but what have you learned from that person where they're like, damn, they've got it figured out, but they're also humble enough and kind enough that they spend time with you in ways that they don't have to spend time with you. Does that make sense?
Oh man, so yeah, I mean that. If I look back on my life, all I've met is outliers. Gladwell calls them outliers. 10 years,
Yep.
10,000 hours, significant breakthrough in your life. If I go back and I just start talking to you about people, John Floyd, Old South Properties, sells 1,000 homes a year, invested $1 million in my Center for Student Coaching and Success. Ricky Benefield, VP of Brassfield and Gore's planning and scheduling. I helped him build that. I helped John get Old South in a place where it could find its rhythm, find its cadence. Jeremy Qualls over at Williamson County EIC, John Horst and Norman Eicher that have built this incredible plant and then business down in Belvedere, in Winchester, and Tullahoma. I mean, Norman Joseph started a college football team in 1998. No phones, no computers, no players, no uniforms. What do all these people? And we ended up 21st in the nation. I could keep going. It is wild. Meeting you, Keith Grabowski, coach and coordinator podcast, 120 million downloads. I met Keith. We went out on a plane to California to buy this publishing company. We pitched the deal. We didn't get it at the end. I go, Keith, man, listen to me. The guy's wrong. You're right. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. You're going to get there. Start a podcast. I said it to him on Friday. We get on the plane on Sunday. He goes, hey, Colby, I just got one question for you. 120 million downloads now. One of probably the top podcast in the sport and coaching space. He said to me at the end we're getting off the plane. Hey man, just one last question. What's a podcast? This is 10 years ago. And so here's my point. I'm going to answer your question. Here's my point. What they all have in common. They took a chance on me when nobody else would. And you got to get around people and build relationships in such a way that they feel like they're connected to you and they get something from you. Norman and I talk now 25 years later, and he's now Division I offensive coordinator, and I do what I do. And he goes, I said, Norman, why did you hire me? I said, there were 400 people that applied for that offensive line job. They had NFL experience. They had state championships, college championships. He goes, you know why I hired you, Colby? I said, no. He said, man, because I felt like I could talk to you. And I couldn't talk to anybody else. And when you're starting a football team and you think your life is just completely different than where you thought it was going to be, you value somebody that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk to you when I really couldn't talk to anybody else. Man, I've been waking up since I was 5 years old and walking into rooms and looking at adults and asking myself from a very early age as a survivor, what do these people want from me and what do I need to get them so I can go away and do what I want to do? That's a learned skill set that I started developing when I was 5 years old.
So what was that theme for them, right? That one thing that you saw from all these leaders.
They made investments in other people when they didn't have to.
Yeah.
These people were great. They had greatness on their own. But yet, if you look at every one of these outliers, the difference between them and other people that I've worked with that I will not work with today, their philosophy is, I'm going to take you with me. The people that I don't work with, their philosophy is, I'm going to have all the success and you won't.
Yep.
But I want you to do all the work. So the future of work is unique ability teams. Unique ability is this place where you get to in your life where what you do gives you energy, it gives other people energy, it creates new levels of challenge, new levels of opportunity.
Well, I think the abundance versus scarcity mentality, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big. I talked about that today as well with somebody. I mean, I think the scarcity,
make the pie bigger,
right?
That's all make the pie bigger is. It's just abundance, and then start the bakery and deliver the pies is collaboration. Collaboration is the stuff that greatness is made of. There is no way that you have the success that you have without 2 or 3 key people that you all work together to get to where you got to.
That's right. Yep. 100%. And I think the abundance thing is too, this is where I was going with it is, when you surround yourself with those people that you're talking about, right? Step number one, be around the great people. But those people also have to be abundant and be excited for your growth, right? Because you could be around somebody that wants to stun your growth because they think if Colby's successful, I can't be successful. Well, that's BS, right? One of my closest friends is in the exact same business I'm in.
Yeah.
I hope he's successful as can be, but he hopes I'm successful as well, right? Abundance.
Yeah. And there's enough success for everybody, man.
Yeah.
There's enough success for everybody.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you asked me that, because I was actually thinking about that in all these, and I feel so bad because there's so many other people that I could list. Ben Goss, when I was at Southern Miss, when I was trying to get a PhD, we were at a bar, and he goes, "Man, I see you talking to all these girls. I mean, if you think you could introduce me to these girls, and then I can help you with these classes, because I see you not doing well in these classes." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, we could get this started today. Where do I sign up? This is gonna be."
I'm in.
I mean, there's so many, man, that I have met along the way. Norman Joseph took a chance on me. John Floyd in Old South, seriously. Had no reason. I had no track record. I didn't, just like you. I didn't go to trusted advisor school.
Right.
But I am.
Yep. How many fears have you put in your mind, Colby, that have actually blown up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
Every one of them.
Really?
Well, I may misinterpret that question, but the fear is always just in your mind, man. I mean,
well, that's my point, right? How many of those fears we put up here actually blew up to where you put them in your mind to be?
Oh, yeah, zero,
yeah. Right?
Yeah.
But we put them in there.
Well, I blow them up. Them up.
But that's I ask that question in damn near every podcast, because I think there's so many people out there that don't take action, which is one of the circuits of success, taking action, because of the fear they put in their mind, because they believe that fear that's in their mind. But reality is, every single person I've had on here, 394 people, have said zero.
Yeah.
Right?
Now,
it stuns our growth.
Absolutely. Well, when I first started speaking, I can remember this guy called me and he said, "Hey, would you come out here to this chamber event?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. How many people do you think will be there?" He's like, "Probably 20. I'm like, "All right." So I go in there. There's 300 people in the room, and I'm like, "Can I pull the fire alarm?
Exactly. How do I get the hell out of here?
Can I crawl underneath the table? Can I run out the back door? Here's your speaker, Colby Jubenville." Today, before I walk out on that stage, I say this to myself, and this is exactly to your point. I say to myself, these people have no idea what's about to happen to them. I'm going to find the one person that's fighting me in this room, and when I'm done, they are going to feel what I want them to feel. I wrote a book on personal branding, and I can boil the book down into 2 sentences after doing this for so many years. Personal branding is made up, and this is part of the talent development framework. Personal branding is made up of 2 key pieces. And this goes to your point about what we think about ourselves, what we tell ourselves. Personal branding is about brand, image, and brand identity. Brand image, watch how simple this is the feeling that you want other people to have when they spend time with you. Brand image is the feeling that you want other people to have when they spend time with you. The feeling that I want people to have is conviction. I want them to feel my conviction. Conviction simply means, and I learned this from the book Backable, The Surprising Truth About Why People Take a Chance on You. Conviction means convince yourself first. You did it, I did it. All of us that put ourselves in a vulnerable spot to talk in this way, do it. But it's the feeling that other people want to have, what you want other people to have when they spend time with you. Mm-hmm. What feeling do you want people to have? Brand identity is your unique perspective, unique education, and unique experience. How you see it, how you know it, how you do it. This is how we see our relationship with our clients. This is how we know our relationship with our clients, and this is what we deliver to our clients. And you build stories around that are vehicles that help explain change.
That's strong. I mean, that brand image, man, for me, it's, and you see it right here on this microphone, right, is F greater than P. It's helping people achieve a future greater than their past.
Yeah.
And I think that comes over time by putting yourself out there, and that mission statement. I think it's really hard to find and just sit down with your journal and write down a bunch of stuff and be like, oh, achieving a future greater than your past. That's it. And now to my core, I believe that. But I think it comes over time. And you helped me with this, and we did this in my office one time, that comfort zone callus. If you remember, right?
Yeah.
Is that comfort zone getting bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah.
as we started the first 2 chapters of my book with your help. We'll get it done one day.
Hey, I'm still there, but hey, speaking of books.
Oh, there you go. Hillbilly Elegy.
Let's get a little political. I've been using this one way long ago. All right? J.D. Vance, right? And listen to what he says. So, do you know how I read books? Have I told you this, how I read books?
No.
You can tell from our interviews that I have serious ADD, right? And that's an advantage for me, but not for most people. So, when I read books, I find one piece of the book and I master it. And after that, I don't read the book anymore. That's just how I consume information. All right? So, on page 2, I made it to 2, man, of this book. Here's what he says. That is the real story of my life, and that is why I wrote this book. Now listen to this. This ties all of this together. I want people to know what it feels like to nearly give up on yourself and why you might do it. I want people to understand what happens in the lives of the poor and the psychological impact that spiritual and material poverty has on their children. I want people to understand the American dream as my family and I encountered it. I want people to understand how upward mobility really feels. And I want people to understand something I learned only recently, that for those of us lucky enough to live the American dream, the demons of the life that we live behind continue to chase us. Make your future bigger than your past. Don't let past hold your future hostage.
That's
a little
strong.
hillbilly elegy there for you.
I love it. And I mean,
Yes,
you're right. I mean, it's like you even go to Matthew McConaughey's book you mentioned earlier. You read or you listen to his Oscar speech. I mean, that guy you're chasing.
Yeah.
I mean, to this point, the demons are always chasing you, and that's true, man. We got to figure out a way to just continually get better day in and day out, and that's by habits. It's by habits.
Absolutely.
Tell our listeners a little bit more about your books. Where can they find them?
Yep. Well, I would encourage you to go to. I write for Forbes, Coaches Council, and I've had so much fun doing that. And I've taken those articles and packaged them around the talent development framework, narrative-based coaching, the story we tell ourselves, emotional intelligence, pattern matching, pattern stacking, personal branding, growth mindset, personal relationships, market-specific knowledge. And so if they just type in Colby Jubenville Forbes, they're just beautiful, sweet little hits of information that they're usually about Jack. I love to tell stories about Jack, to watch him. And one of my favorite stories is Jack goes to Chick-fil-A. He has an app. It's connected to my credit card. He presses one button. He gets the food. He knows when to press it when he leaves his school so that it will be ready right when he gets there, and there's no human contact. And we wonder why we have the problems we have in the world today.
Yeah.
So my 2 books are called Zebras and Cheetahs. It's How to Get Paid for Your Value, Not Your Time, published by Wiley. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I think my books are great, but I wrote them. But don't read them, but just look at the covers. The covers are amazing. So just set it on buy it and set it on your coffee table if that's what you need to do. It's lime green. It's a zebra and cheetah. It's really cool. But that's How to Get Paid for Your Value, Not Your Time. And the other book is called Me, How to Sell Who You Are, What You Do, and Why You Matter to the World, and it's on personal branding. And since I just told you and your audience the 2 sentences that you need from that book, I mean, again, make it a coffee table book. It's a beautiful hat show print. And I think it would look beautiful on your coffee table as well. So,
Mine are in my office.
Let's,
Colby Jubenville, it's always fun spending time with you, brother. Let's give one last. Cause you're a locker room guy. You like to, this is your speech, right? So you're going to give I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. All right, you got a 30-second clock.
Yep.
Give us the closing speech. We're down by 10, right? It's halftime. Give me the pep talk, man. Give that pep talk to that guy or gal listening right now that needs to hear from you.
So we're here. We're at the end. And we will win this game. But here's what I want you to know, because it's about to happen for you. If you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, play a round of golf. If you want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. If you want to be happy for a month, buy a car. If you want to be happy for a year, win the lottery. But if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, go out here and beat your rivals and win this game and take it with you for the rest of your life.
That's solid. That's solid. That's true, man.
That's a little Lou Holtz right there for you, man. That's not mine, but it's a beautiful frame, right? And really what I do close, I have 3 closes, and I just ask them, do they want one of these 3 closes, and I let them pick. But what I say at the end is, but if you want to be happy for a lifetime, make investments, take chances, make investments, and develop other people's talent as you continue to lift and climb along the way.
Yep, serving others, my friend.
You do that for everybody through the podcast, and I've watched you do it right there in the work that you do. And I so appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you and your audience. I'm actually launching a podcast. I will let you know about it when I do. It's an incredible story, and I'm not going to release it yet, but off air I will tell you, and that'll be a little teaser for the next time that we get together.
I love it. Can't wait. Dr. Colby Jubenville, as always, my friend, good to be with you. Stay with me while I turn this thing off here, but good to be with you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate what you do.